This is the very tiny new wireless lavalier mic from Hollyland, the Lark M2S. Oh no, wait. I wasn't holding it. This is the new Lark M2S. Sorry, I couldn't resist it, but could this be the new do everything mini mic king? We've got a lot to talk about. Now, I've tried a few wireless mics over the last year in search of the perfect plug and play solution for interviews, filming and video calls, and it's an increasingly tricky choice. And the Lark M2S is Hollyland's latest tiny solution to high quality portable audio. Now, this time last year, Hollyland released the M2, which was the first of its kind to kind of enter that mini mic lavalier market with the magnets and all of that. And a few months back, DJI then replied in the conversation with this rather compelling DJI Mic Mini. Well, Hollyland just fired new shots across the bow, taking things in the wireless mic world to a whole new, well, size. Now, I've actually been going back and forth on which of these two mics to buy for a month or so now. So the question is, should I just scrap both and keep the M2S? And which one should you get? Well, hi, it's Simon. Welcome back to Better Creating. And before we continue, you should also know that yes, Hollyland have sponsored this video and sent the mics for testing, but I've also agreed with them that I'm still going to share my honest opinions about this mic and the others, good and bad. So if you're seeing this, you can know that I've said what I want to say. And to cut to the chase, this little M2S, I like it a lot. Now, as always with mics like this, they all have slightly different features and all kind of miss something each. So it's not as simple a choice between these as you might think. Now, as you can see, I am recording both on the DJI and the M2S for this section. So if you want to compare the sound, you can do that, and we'll do more raw sound comparisons a bit later on. If you're interested, these are both connected to my Fuji X-H2Ss. They're both set to minus 27 decibels on the camera, and each mic is on its middle position. So 0 for the DJI and setting 2 for the M2S. So let's get started with what comes in the kits and the features that we can make comparisons between. And as we do this, I'm going to kind of mostly focus on comparing the M2S with the DJI, and we'll talk about this in a bit. Now, these mics sit at a similar price point for their full combo versions, and I would say, you know, the DJI and the M2S sit at that similar point. Pricing of the Lark M2S combo comes in at $140, $130 for the mini combo, and $110 for the single standalone USB-C option. And the M2 combo sits at $169, the DJI $149. So all of these really sit at a similar price. So what it really comes down to here is which features and sound are right for you. Now, here I have the combo version, and there is also a mini combo and USB-C plug only option that is designed for mobile use, and that gets even smaller. In this combo pack that I've got, we've got the carry stroke charging case, we've got a cable to charge that case, the two mics, we've also got the universal receiver for cameras or whatever you want to use with a TRS cable, coiled, very nice. And then we have a USB-C phone adapter, which is also usable with a laptop, more on that later, and a lightning to USB-C cable for adapting to other inputs if needed. It is a bit of a shame that you don't have the two options that you get in the M2, but to be honest, it doesn't bother me. I think the lightning stuff is gradually being outdated, so it's a nice update. We've got wind muffs, nice attachment solution there, and there is also a bag for everything to go in with 2 compartments, and we get instructions. So I guess we have to start with the mics, because these are the things that get recorded and record on camera, right? Here they are. And these things weigh just 7 grams. So this is actually a surprising and effective new design, with the larger section of the mic actually sitting behind your clothing, and then this super tiny pearl-sized microphone head with no logo on it. That's what I really love about this compared to the other two. And I think all of this sets the Lark M2S apart with its unique design. And I actually think this looks way more discreet than a wired lavalier outside of your clothing. It also has the titanium alloy clip on it, so it can actually be super secure. And honestly, out of all 3 of these mics, this is the one I would trust for like high-speed cycling or intensive movement because of that clip. It's just not going anywhere, and it actually sits inside your clothing. I mean, look at the visual difference right here. You can tell that it's not having much impact on the fabric. Compared to this, you still see that kind of hanging off a little bit. And honestly, with this one particularly, it's easy to forget you've got it on. So if we compare this to the DJI Mini and of course the Lark M2, we can see a distinct difference in the size and weight. So we've got 3 grams lighter on the M2S than the DJI and 2 grams less than the M2. When I compared the original M2 to the DJI, it still comes in lighter at 8 grams. And in some ways that is the more direct comparison for size of mic. Now I do slightly miss the magnetic option on the M2S, and to be fair, I reckon that's exactly why Hollyland are releasing the M2S, to give an alternative, more discreet option than the M2. And overall, I do find the Lark mics more attractive to look at than the DJI one. And particularly now, that is true of the new colour and design of the case. I've always found this to be a little bit blue. This feels much more up to date. And I also find that the little logo on the DJI sometimes is just too present and reflects when I'm using it on camera. So with the universal receiver, I like that Hollyland have stuck to the super accessible 3-level options. You just click it round. And I personally find this is all you need for this kind of mic and for most people. Although some people might prefer DJI's mic mini levels, which give you 5 levels of gain that are actually marked -12 to +12 dB for those more sound savvy tech friends of ours. Now, before we talk about the recording features, let's take a moment to discuss portability. We really need to talk about these boxes because I've got a bone to pick. I really like the updated look of this case, and that Hollyland seem to have listened to feedback on the M2 to ensure that more now fits inside this case. You can put both receivers, the USB-C and standard receiver, in there. And this is something I've preferred in the DJI Mic Mini over the M2, that it was always just one package that you could put in your pocket. Now the M2S has addressed it, allowing that space for both receivers, and in some ways the M2S potentially goes further than the DJI, since we don't have to take the little adapter from the DJI system out and adjust it when we want to plug it in with USB-C. But, and I do find this annoying, unlike the DJI Mic Mini, we can't fit the TRS cable in the box, and for that matter, the wind muffs. They just won't fit in there. So it's not really a true all-in-one package, where this is literally one case. Yes, it's bigger, but it all goes in. I really think that would be my feedback on these. But let's be honest, that's true with pretty much all mics like this, and I don't think it's a deal breaker at all. This is nonetheless a full-on in your pocket solution. And for me, you add that with a Moft tripod and phone stand, you have a very serious portable filming setup to put in your pocket. I also absolutely love the Lark M series for video calls. It's proven to be the easiest high quality mic option to plug and go for meetings on my MacBook that I've ever found. You just plug it in and it works, and it's my favorite thing. So that one reason alone is a reason to buy these mics. I think the feature set of the M2S is very attractive for the price. We get the expected 24-bit, 48 kilohertz high fidelity audio recording, so no 32-bit float, but that's true of all of these mics at this price range. 32-bit float, if you want to know, really simply put, means that you can save audio after the fact if it clips. I've never had it, and I don't have a problem. Now this also has a claimed 300-meter range in unobstructed environments, same as the M2, and the receiver has at least 8 hours of working time with noise cancellation turned off, and that can be extended to up to 30 hours with the charging case. Now what is cool though is that when you have this connected to a phone, the USB-C receiver can connect a charging cable to charge both the phone and the receiver. That is a very nice touch. Now the DJI Mic Mini will double that life with the charging case to 48 hours, and it has 11.5 hours on the transmitter and 10.5 hours on the receiver. But let's be honest, this really isn't a useful comparison. There's hardly any difference. Both are easily enough for the day, and for most people, that's just not relevant. It's really about form factor and sound quality. So the spec and hardware headlines, on one level, I did wonder whether I would miss the magnetic features if I just had the M2S. And yes, there could be a slight compromise here on flexible mounting options, but let's be honest, it's now so small and so beautifully clean when you're wearing it, it's really a matter of what you want your mic to before, and the sound quality. And on sound quality, the Lark M2S gets the same environmental noise cancellation tech as the M2. To turn it on, you have to just click this little button once and you'll get a green light, and then you can press it again to turn it off. I'll demo the difference between these three mics in a moment for comparison. We also get a simple app to manage the settings. I think it's all you need, and whilst the DJI Mic Mini app is arguably far more comprehensive, there's a lot to be said for the plug and play simplicity of the Lark devices. So overall, the app, I just honestly don't think you're going to use it. Now, beyond the Hollyland mics, the DJI mic also offers automatic limiting to prevent audio clipping called clipping control, which you can turn on in the app. I found it to be very good. I also like that the DJI has the option to start recording using the link button on the transmitter, a very helpful touch for solo filming, but maybe in a firmware update, that's something that Hollyland could add. Let us know. And DJI also advertises 2 levels of noise cancellation on this, which I didn't to start with think that these had, but they actually do. So that's pretty comparable. Now, interestingly, the M2 and M2S don't advertise the 2 levels on the app, but they're there. You can actually do 2 levels of noise cancellation. I couldn't tell much difference between the levels though. But well, none of these are really deal breakers. Why? Because it really comes down to which you prefer the sound of. And that is where this gets interesting. Throughout this video, you've listened to these 2 mics in their mixed format, so let's now listen to them in raw, unadjusted format. Let's start in the studio. I'm recording this on 2 cameras, one connected to the Lark M2S and one connected to the DJI Mic Mini. Listen to this on headphones and let me know in the comments which you prefer. Listen to this on headphones and let me know in the comments which you prefer. And now you can see I've connected it to the Lark M2, the third option. Listen to this on headphones and let me know in the comments which you prefer. And as a final studio comparison, this is me on my $1,300 Sennheiser MKH50 going through proper preamps into my Rodecaster Duo. How does that compare to these sub 200 mics for quality? Right, let's go outside. So here I am outside with the noise cancelling turned off. I'm next to a reasonably busy road in a park, a little bit of wind, and this is noise cancelling turned off. This one is the DJI, and this one here is the Lark M2S. Which do you prefer? Which do you prefer? And here we are with the noise cancelling turned on. That was a large London bus going past on the road that I'm right next to, about 10 meters away. This is the Lark M2S and this is the DJI Mic Mini. Which do you prefer? Let me know below. Which do you prefer? Let me know below. And as a final little test, let me show you what happens when I turn the noise cancelling off. So let's do it on the Lark first. Here we go for this one. So that's noise cancelling off. Do you feel a difference? So this is noise cancelling on the DJI and off on the DJI. Do you see a difference? Let me know. And finally, I've now attached the ridiculously large wind muff of the M2, which I have to say is really annoying to attach. But this is it with noise cancelling off. Same thing, a little bit of wind, cars passing about 10 meters away. Let's now turn the noise cancelling on. It's hard to find the button. This is a negative, but that clicked. So that should be noise cancelling on. And now this is the M2 with noise cancelling on, magnetised with its ridiculously large wind muff. But I suppose the point is with these that they do the job well. And on, you know, on a black top, I think it looks pretty good. So finally, we're going to do a distance test. I'm not going to take a long time over this because let's be honest, a lot of us don't go that far away from the camera. But will the DJI or the M2S be better over long distance? But the one thing I do want to check is whether we will actually see a difference when we go behind obstacles. So I've got my yellow hat on so you can see me. I'm going to run away and come back. Here we go. That's kind of, let's say, 40 meters, maybe. You could say 50 meters away from the camera. Hopefully you can hear me in both mics. And if I turn around, out. Did that cut out? And if I turn around, does it cut out? Did that cut out? So now we're like 100 meters, probably something like that. This is both of them on the same settings, no noise cancellation in a park. Me turning around, does that cut out? Did that cut out? Did you hear it cut out? Cut out, did that cut out? Did you hear it cut out? Let's go behind the tree. Let's go behind the tree here. Is this causing a problem? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Did it change? Okay, we're gonna go a lot further this time and just see how far this goes. I must be 200 meters at least away from the transmitters right now. Can you hear me? I must be 200 meters at least away from the transmitters right now. Can you hear me? Right, I'm gonna come back and we'll see the results. Getting some proper exercise here. I'm totally out of breath, so I'll be really intrigued to see the results back in the studio. But let's be honest with this, very few of us are ever going to go that far away from a camera, so I just don't think you're ever going to need to worry about this factor. But if you do action sports, run around, capture stuff from a distance, maybe the DJI is a better bet, just for that kind of ability I think it has to do a little better with obstacles and over distance. But I'll be truly honest with you, this really comes down to sound quality. So which sound quality you prefer and the features around how it attaches and how you can use it are going to be way more important than this and me running around a field. So these systems are pretty line of sight, and overall I did think that the DJI did a little better job on dealing with me turning around and obstructions. So on paper and in testing, it is better signal strength on the DJI, but I can't escape the fact that I just prefer the sound quality ever so slightly on the Hollyland mic system. And let's be honest, 90% of the time, it's got to be sound quality over you just running around away from the camera, right? And on that front, I just don't think I'm ever going to be filming that far away. Let me know what you thought about these tests in the comments and which you prefer and why. I really do want to hear from you. Great, so that's the audio tests. But before we make a call on which of these you should choose, we do need to talk about what I think is missing and what I don't like so much about these. So number one, it is sad that none of these three options offer on-transmitter or backup recording. This could be a deal breaker for people recording must-get audio, such as interviews, and that's why I actually recorded my recent interview with Ivan Zhao from Notion on the Rode Wireless Go 2 system. The DJI Mini does offer a mono safety track feature you can turn on in the app, which at least records 2 levels as a backup, but I have to say, I think the M2S and M2 both trump the Rode and possibly the DJI for ease of use, and that goes a long way for day-to-day use. And I've never really worried about stuff dropping out. Number two, I do like the approach to how this windscreen mount attaches, but let's be honest, they could be a little subtler and smaller. The plus side, they do a good job, and out of all of these, for extreme use cases, I think I'd trust the M2S most not to fall off my clothing. Number three, I would love to be able to connect this to a 360 camera, but they don't support direct Bluetooth connection. The good news is, this little transmitter is so small, it could plug in to something like an Insta360 X4, and you still get high quality sound, and of course, anything else. And the DJI Mic Mini does, however, offer flexible Bluetooth connection to any device, but with a serious caveat that the quality is so much worse. I just wouldn't use it. So they're all kind of the same, unless you are connecting them to another DJI product like the celebrated Osmo Pocket 3, then it's awesome. And simply put, if you own an Osmo or a DJI camera, you might want to at least go for a transmitter or this set to use with that. Number four, I'd love to be able to have more control over noise cancellation with all of these apps. I found that adjusting the DJI to noise cancellation low made for a much better result. Then again, overall, I definitely prefer the sound quality of the Hollyland mics overall. And number five, whilst we lose the magnetic mounting option for the M2S, we gain invisibility and a more secure attachment system. You can't have it all, I guess. And so I reckon you'll probably already know on that front which one of these would be best for you. I would say if you mostly do, say, video calls and talking to camera like I do, this is probably a better bet. So which mic should you choose? If you're already in the DJI universe and want that Osmo integration directly to that or other DJI cameras, or just to have direct connection to whatever action cam you actually own, then maybe the Mic Mini is for you. Otherwise, personally, I think the Hollyland M2 and M2S offer a slightly preferable sound, quality, and it's actually probably also more affordable. And if you get this system or just the smartphone USB-C option, and that's all you need, it's even more affordable. Admittedly, DJI do just sell this on its own for much less if you have a camera that works with it. For all-in-one portability and ease of use, plug and play, discreet voice recording, or if you just speak to people on calls and want it to look good, I think the M2S is the choice. But if you want more flexible, creative mounting options, then the M2 still hits super hard, and I just love the look and sound of it. And a year later after release, it's pretty hard to say no to this, both on sale and for the dummy-proof plug-and-play setup that both of these Lark M2 and M2S offer. They also sit a little bit lighter on your clothing, in my opinion. Honestly, you can't go wrong here, but as a lover of minimal tech, this new M2S is staying in my kit bag for the long haul. Check out my links in the description to get the best offer on these Hollyland mics and give them a try, and let me know in the comments what you make of them. But even if we found you a good mic right here, there are still a bunch of other tech choices to make to really make your creative or work from home setup sing in 2025. And to help, I think you should watch one of these videos next. It would be awesome if you hit my face to subscribe, as always, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.